everyone. What is an animal communicator? Does it mean that she's psychic? How do you talk to people? How do you talk to cats and dogs? Is it different from than talking to a horse or a mouse? We'll find out that and more tonight. Now, in tonight's Get Off the Couch segment, I want to suggest that you don't take anything personally. I was talking to a buddy of mine right before I started the show, and something happened, and I said, you know what? It's not about you. Just remember when someone reacts to you, that it's as in the second principle, the Four Agreements, which is a great book that I suggest that you read. Just don't take it personally because it's not about you. How you react to someone's all about you, but when someone's saying stuff to you, it's not your deal. So just try not to take things personally this week. Okay, I'm really excited to tell you about tonight's animal communicator. Barb Borkowski's healing journey began while she was working in Ohio as a nurse. A car accident resulted in chronic pain. Massage therapy provided relief. Barb received a massage therapy license by the Ohio State Medical Board. While having a massage therapy business, Barb studied energy therapy, including reiki. She completed all 3 levels in 1995. Barb's experience in providing energy therapy for people for 15 years led to helping animals, children with special needs, and others who cannot verbally communicate. She has assisted those affected by strokes and some who are in a coma. Through touch, she is able to sense imbalances in the person's energy and also offer suggestions that may help to make them comfortable. Barb's educational background includes energy therapy, massage therapy, and nursing. She has an Ohio nursing's license and an Ohio massage therapy license. Welcome, Barb.
Thank you, Julie.
We are excited to have you. Now, we'll talk about it a little later in the show, but Barb did a reading on my boyfriend's cat, Joey, and I have to tell you, it was spot on. I've never talked to an animal communicator before. I've learned lots in that, but let's start off. What exactly is an animal communicator? What do you do?
I speak for animals. Somehow, I guess I was born with that ability. I remember as a child being around my dad's hunting dogs and just sensing if they didn't feel good or if they felt sad or just lonely, and used to spend time with them. As I grew older, I tried to tune that out because I didn't want to be considered a weirdo. But as I made my own healing journey, which is the name of my business, people would ask along the way if I could help their animals. And first I say no, but then I would. And mine more or less is picking up if the animal's having stress, sometimes inappropriate behavior due to stress. And it all stems from the people who they live with.
So would you consider yourself a psychic? Do you hear what they have to say? Do you just sense it? How does that work?
Well, it used to be if I'd go, an example, go into a horse stable, and it's like I could hear or sense, feel all these animals like calling out with their problems to me. And it got to be where I'd be selective and to not become overwhelmed by that, where I had to more or less tune it out. But I guess to answer your question completely is that when I'm either in person looking with an animal or looking at a picture of the animal, it's just thoughts that I have, impressions, things that I feel within my own body where there might be discomfort, or just a certain thought I'll have of what they're thinking as far as their owners.
Well, let's talk a little bit. Now, you can do this. Obviously, you did it with Joey. You can do it long distance. So it took us a couple pictures before we got one that was good for you. So what's important if you're going to work with someone long distance, that you need to see a close-up? What kind of picture is helpful for you?
Okay, initially I think the first one you sent of Joey was his backside was at the front of the picture and couldn't really see his face. It could be done anyways, but as I'm looking at a photo, it's being open to, I feel like I'm just the messenger for people, that I hope it's okay to say that I feel God uses me in that capacity. that it's not really me. He just gave me that ability to do it. Um, so I usually say a prayer and ask how I could help the animal and the people that love that animal. And I'm nervous, as you can tell, by the way.
You're doing great. We're all excited to have you here. It's just you and me talking, no one else.
Thanks. Just being open, and there are times where I still get nervous. Like after a while, I didn't hear from you. It's like, wonder if she's okay. I better check. And I worry, but I shouldn't because, well, I was raised Christian, so the person I ask to help me is Jesus. Hope that doesn't offend anyone, but I love him and feel that he's the one that I work with to help the animals that he loves and the people that love those animals.
What I thought was really interesting, and I don't want to go into the details of the reading out of respect for my boyfriend, but without Barb knowing anything, we just said his name's Joey. She was like, is he not using the litter box? And that was the big issue. And he doesn't use a litter box daily. We call him the poop bomber. And so, but I can guarantee that she was spot on as far as I was concerned, and what was really going on with Joey. And what was great about the reading is she gave some solutions. So we're going to get him a ball of yarn, and I think there's a mouse toy that we need to get, and we're going to go ahead and do that. But I was amazed. But not only is it going to benefit Joey, but it's going to benefit my boyfriend as well. Because what I learned from you is, now you had said this about cats, and you'd mentioned it earlier. Is it with all animals that they're going to pick up what's going on with their owner, or is it particular to cats?
It's all of them. Cats are a little more challenging for me. And when I say that, I also do energy therapy, energy work, energy healing. People call it by different names. But dogs, for the most part, will love it and lay there and go on their backs, and once you rub their belly, and they just soak up the energy. Horses like it too, where cats may come around. Now, mind you, they have smaller bodies, but it's like maybe a couple seconds of you touching them, or it's like they know what you're doing, and they sometimes feel like they're more intelligent than you, and a lot of times they are.
I saw a quote once, I think on Twitter, that I thought was great. Now, I don't own a cat or a dog. I'd like to get a pair of pugs. I think pugs are adorable. But said that dogs had owners and cats had servants. And so I would say probably most pet owners would agree with that. But I want to remind everyone, if you have a question for Barb, because we had a little bit of pre-questions on a place that I posted for you, but 919-518-9773, chat a question. I'm happy to ask her. You can Skype in at Computers 2K Voice. So you work with, because when I went to your website, you work with all animals, because I saw you had a clip on working with horses. So you'll work with any pet. How about a snake?
Oh, I love animals, but I do have a fear of snakes. I do. I guess I could, maybe just a picture. I'm not sure I'd want to do it in person. I've worked with birds, guinea pigs, gerbils, a big iguana. He was something else, quite a character. I'm trying to think what that might be it for now. So I haven't had anyone ask me as far as snakes, and rabbits too was another one. I'd have to think about that one.
That's all right. If they maybe they could just send you a picture. So what? Can you share an interesting story that you've had doing this work? Maybe that a pet shared something with you that was just kind of out of the ordinary.
So many of them are out of the ordinary. One that's coming to mind was that had a message from a woman's aunt, great aunt, who had passed on, I think, 10 years before that. She was upset about a chest of drawers that were hers that were in the house, that she was not pleased that it wasn't taken care of properly.
Wow. I would think if I'd passed on, I'd have bigger and better things to be pissed off about. But you know what? Hey, to each their own. So that actually brings up an interesting question, because I had a friend whose dog unfortunately just passed away. She posted on Facebook 2 nights ago. So can you communicate with pets that have passed?
If asked, yes. It's not something that I really promote, because some people, the work that I do, there are going to be skeptics, lots of them out there, and then there are going to be those that don't want anything to do with it, and I understand that. There'll be some who are skeptical, but usually in a reading or, when I'm in person, there'll be something that the people can't deny is the truth, because it's so specific to them and their animal that, I have no way of knowing that. So if asked, yes. And I can also get a feel if I think that people will be open to something like that, because what I do is bizarre to some people and very normal and thought like it's cool to others.
Well, I have to say, just based on what you read about Joey, I was, you knew what you were talking about. There's stuff we've never had a conversation about it that you couldn't know. And again, Joey's not mine; he's my boyfriend. So there's no way that you would have known. Although I have to admit, when I first moved to Los Angeles, I was at the 3rd Street Promenade, and there was a thing that said psychic cat or pet psychic, and I was like, wow, I've definitely really moved to LA now. But I have to tell you, have since changed my tune based on interest, and again, with what you did with Joey, I think there's real benefit to that. So if someone was interested in that, their pet had passed, would they just show you a picture? Is that how you'd work? Because again, you can work in person, or if someone sends you a photo, you're able to do it long distance.
Correct. So it'll be the same thing.
Now,
I had one veterinarian contact me from California, and without giving out too much as far as the privacy, just she had problems not able to save one of her patients, and was very disturbed by it, and she just sent a picture, and I think it put things into perspective of why the little puppy had passed. And our animals can be such great teachers to us, even if we know them for a couple minutes. I think that's an important purpose that they fulfill here, is helping us to go along on our spiritual path. And for this, I think it helped her to realize, as much as she wanted to help and save, that sometimes this isn't possible. And what we take with that experience, the information we gain, and a better understanding of ourselves, is why that animal came into our life.
I believe it was Gandhi that said, and I'm sure one of our listeners will correct me if I'm wrong, but should judge a society based on how we treat our animals, and we've got a ways to go, at least in this country. Right. I won't speak for others. So have you found that with the animals that you read, again, because they're taking on most of the time or all of the time the characteristics of the humans, they experience stress or anxiety or depression, whatever we're feeling, they are feeling too?
They do. And for them, it's different. Yes, they have their own issues, own stress. Then they feel the people's stress. And we'll take dogs, for example. They need the alpha dog. They need someone to be the boss in charge. And when they're a stressed out mess, they're not taking charge. So the animal has his own stress, feels the stress of the people. I'm sorry, the dog feels the stress of the owners, and then when they feel like they have to take on that role, when they've been the non-dominant dog in the pack, and feel they have to take on that role, it's extremely stressful. So that leads to behavioral issues for them. Part of dominance is, maybe barking too much, or a lot of dogs, I had one that did this a lot of, humping people's legs, trying to be the top dog. So it's important when you do have the animals, and cats too, knowing boundaries and having the rules set of how to behave within a pack environment. So when they have to take on that role and they're not used to it, that creates a lot more stress for them. And then if they're acting up, it adds to the stress of the people. So it's just a vicious cycle.
Now, let me ask you, are there some generalities, so for people who are watching or listening, that might help? So, for instance, Joey not using the litter box. Even if you hadn't read Joey, or there's a cat out there, Sammy the cat's doing the same thing. He's like, I'm done with the litter box. Are those maybe an indication of ABC, maybe to start someone on trying to figure out what's going on with their pet?
I guess the simplest thing to say, and it may not sound real nice, when an animal urinates, it's showing that they're angry. And that's not to say, I like to tell people, and especially mention on the show, I don't take the place, or nobody does, of veterinary care. So we want to make sure that there's nothing physically wrong, first of all, whether it could be a bladder infection or kidney issues, things like that. But if they're physically healthy, they will act out. I mean, what better way to get your attention than to deposit things that should be in a litter box or done outside if you have a dog, than to have the people actually see the poop, the crap that's going on within the home.
If you are communicating, so, for instance, I sent you a picture, someone out there says, hey, Barb, I want you to do a reading on my animal, and send you a picture. How do you know you're talking to the right animal?
As I said before, I say a prayer, and I trust Jesus, my guidance, that because the prayer is, how can I best help this animal? I'm looking at this picture, and so the person that they live with, and I guess it's just having faith.
Okay. Now I want to remind our listeners and viewers, call at 919-518-9773, Skype at Computers 2K Voice, or chat in a question. I know that Barb will be happy to answer it. I know we have lots of pet owners here and super excited to have you on. So are there certain gestures that an animal makes or does that can be telling us something?
Certain gestures?
Well, I don't know, like if a cat stretches a certain way or dog wags its tail, if those are, hard and fast rules of it means X, Y, or Z.
Yeah, we'll start with dogs that, you can tell a lot that's going on just by looking at the dog's tail. Probably when it's curled up and the hairs are standing up, it's like they're afraid. They're defensive, on guard. A tail that's hanging between the hind legs definitely is an indicator of the animal's sad, or his spirits low. Maybe not treated well, not patient with him or her. Cats, when you say about stretching, they make me laugh, because I've had cats before too, by the way. It's like they do have this sense of, I know, I'm so smart. And a lot of times it's prolonged stretch, like trying to get your attention, like, look at me, pay attention to me, aren't I beautiful, that kind of thing. Horses, when they're upset, they can pace a lot, especially if they're in a stall. What's that?
I said, because I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, and you could tell a lot. Sorry, I just needed to change positions. With their ears. When they're pinned back, they're afraid, and that you have to be careful. So when I'm around there, I pay a lot of attention to their ears. When they're back, they're frightened. That's the time when they could just rear up and kick people. When they're curious, they kind of flicker back and forth. So with horses, you want a nice relaxed pose as far as their ears, not going too forward. If they're curious, they'll go forward a little bit. So you want them kind of straight up so they're calm that way. But pin back, beware. Don't be behind them where you could be kicked. Or actually never go behind a horse because that's not the place to be.
Barb, we've got several questions here for you
Okay.
on chat. Rutro wants to know, why are pit bulls different?
Gosh, good question. I think a lot has to do with the breeding. Like overbreeding, I think. Now, I'm not an expert as far as animals, haven't had veterinary courses or anything like that. It's just, you're asking my opinion. Just when there too much breeding, I mean, even with not a pit bull breed, any breed, purebreds, just there can be bad traits carried along, whether it's physical problems. I think some dogs are more prone to being overly protective to the point of aggressive. Any thoughts on that, Julie?
No, and I guess I would say to you, I mean, I that makes total sense what you're saying, but still would also be to the individual dog. So, I mean,
Right.
have you found that when doing readings on pets that it just really kind of pertains to the owner and the actual pet, while being a pit bull may play a part, it's more about the owner and the actual pet? Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay, great. Our
It's
next
all in how
question.
you raise them. I mean, a lot of the people will have them so they're, are trained to be aggressive and highly protective and dominant.
Okay, our next question is from Princess, who asks, can animals reincarnate into humans?
That I don't know. I mean, we all have different beliefs, and I believe that we live more than one lifetime, but that's me. I can't prove it. I have worked with animals where they'll have discomfort from what, excuse me, appeared to be another lifetime. And once I talked to them, and maybe an example was one being shot and have a bullet, pretending to pull that out, and the discomfort went away. So is it coincidental? Is it real, not real? I'm not sure. I think that animals are above humans in the spirit realm, because if you think, they don't have means to communicate as humans do, and no matter how they're treated, no, they could eat the same food day after day and be treated not so kindly, and yet they're still able to love. And I don't know of many humans that can do that.
Oh, I could eat cheese every day. I'd be fine with that. But it shows when I eat too much cheese. I think that's a great point, though. We've got a couple more questions for you. Warrior Spirit would like to know, do animals have karma?
Yes, they do. I believe they do.
And can you think of an example maybe when talking with a pet, if anything's coming to mind?
Yeah, there have been some that have not been treated as well as I would like them to be. And I think a lot may have to do of karma with the person. So, maybe the animal may have killed them in a lifetime, just an example, attacked them. And so now they're back there again. And I think whatever we do, whether people believe we live more than once or not, it's like what I do today, how I treat people, somewhere down the road I'm going to be treated that way by somebody else. So if you think that animals and people reincarnate, will go through different scenarios until we work things out. If the animal was extremely aggressive in a lifetime, maybe he'll be this meek little thing that is abused. It's, the balance. What it's like to be over dominant to being so submissive.
Okay, Rebecca asks, I have a very old Kelpie border collie, and she's been very angry lately. How can we know how to help her?
She's very angry lately. So my question, and of course you can't answer, it's just something to think about. Um, Animals will react to changes in the environment, and I suggest to people that you talk to them like you would another person. If you're, say you lost a job, and you're sad and you're worried, that's just an example. Um, Sit down and tell them, or if you're crying, to tell them, I'm sad because they're aware of mood changes, they're aware of changes in routine. So just talking to them on some level, their soul gets it.
Now, Ryan Tab asks, what is the most common solution to an animal's misbehavior or bad feelings?
What is the most common
solution to an animal's misbehavior or bad feelings?
Okay, let me think. Hi, Ryan and Tab. um, I think it's to be firm in the way, be consistent. If there are changes, talk to them. Have them to get more exercise, because when they're stressed out, they need to vent that pent-up energy. So exercise. And just a calm, reassuring voice, and, don't tolerate the bad behavior, but don't also constantly point out. It's like an animal, just like a child, can do things that behave in ways that aren't positive, and yet if you only react at that time to it, they're going to continue to do it because that's the way they get your attention. So if a dog or a cat's laying there being nice, that's a time to do the positive reinforcement, rather than just when it's behavior that you don't want to keep occurring.
Okay, we've got another question here from Melissa. Is there a way to know when a pet is going to die when it's not visibly sick?
Yeah, I think that all people can be intuitive. I'm not sure that all people can do what I do, or, other intuitive people. Some are more open to it. So to answer that, some people will get a feeling about their animal, a sense of knowing. And it's like, why am I feeling that way? But sometimes animals, I'll share one story. A man had contacted me, problems. The man worked too much and the dog was left alone too much and started destructive tendencies, tearing things up, making messes. And I suggested more walks, spend time outside. And the dog said to me, before I die, I'm going to run after squirrels like I used to when I was young. Now, he was about 12 years old, I think. And just preparing people, because I still get chills when I think of it. He died less than 2 weeks later. And what he did, the man's mother had taken the dog for a walk. The dog saw a squirrel, took off running, and got hit by a car. And passed. So to continue on was just, sometimes they're just ready to go. I think that God is kind to them, so maybe they don't have to suffer. Some who have had maybe the beginnings of cancer that are just suddenly taken, or people notice a change, like it hits real quick, as it did with my yellow lab that I had. Happened sudden. One morning she just couldn't bear weight on her hind legs, and I knew. She gave me a look. A lot of times dogs, cats, horses will give a look like, I'm ready to go. And you think, oh, that's silly. Why am I thinking that? And sure enough, they try to let their owners know. I believe that.
Kyle, do you think that animals are sensitive when humans are dying?
Absolutely, I do. Um, Many times, and there are animals now that have been trained therapy dogs that can um, sniff out cancer, to smell it when they're just, not full blown, maybe when a few cells have started to multiply badly, which is what happens with cancer. Um, yes, they're very much aware. Some dogs, cats will paw, say, to a woman who has the beginnings of breast cancer, to keep after that, get the attention. And same with like problems with the colon, I mean, various things. Heart issues, yeah. And also known animals, now I feel that it's the truth, who have told me that they took on a certain illness so their owner could be spared.
That's beautiful. We've got a couple more questions here. One from Amnon. They say dogs will normally not look you in the eyes. Does it mean something when your dog is having a staring contest with you?
Absolutely. They're trying to get your attention, to tell you something. Um, that's one way of looking at it. The other one is can be a dominance thing. They're the stare down. The weak dog is the one that, to look away. Um, but if you've had a pet for any length of time, usually the staring is to get your attention. Um, I'll share an example of my yellow lab Maggie. This was, I'm trying to think, she was a couple years old, and saying to, or when she wanted something, she would stare, persistent. She would just stand there and stare. But this particular time, I'm just like, I don't know what you want, Maggie. And she started to stomp her front paws on the dining room floor. I'm like, what is it that you want? And the thought came to me that I was supposed to help God's gentle creatures. And I say, what? And I didn't do that even when people would ask me to help their animals. So she did it again, and it's like, okay, I'm going to listen. And after that, there was no more stare down. So it could be an important message, something that the animal's trying to get the owner's attention in a intense way.
All right, well, Amnon needs to start paying attention then. That's all I'm going to say. All right, we've got another question here from Melissa. I got my cat when she was about 7 months old, and very little is known about her before she was found. Can animals communicate to you what their past was before coming to their present owners?
Absolutely, they do. With, I say horses, I've had the most experience with them, because in the horse world, which I find kind of sad, but it's the way it works, where horse owners will sell, they want to get, maybe they'll trade with some people, or sell because they want to do different training, different shows. It's very prestigious when they have different ribbons and medals. So with them, their life is chaotic. It can be. And many times they'll tell me, this is my third owner, this is my seventh owner, and they'll tell me various places that they lived, and how they were treated there. So same with cats. A lot of dogs and cats that are rescued have very sad stories that they share of being mistreated, and they finally go to a forever loving home.
Now I have a question. As you were talking, it just made me think. I remember when the tsunami happened around Christmas several years ago. All the animals knew what was happening, and they're rushing to get away from the ocean. But it made me wonder, so after that natural disaster, did the animals in there collectively carry the stress and the despondency and the sadness from the people in that area? Would they, as a collective whole, somehow, because you talk about animals absorbing what's going on in their owner's life, but something like that, do you have any thoughts on that?
I do. I was living in Ohio at the time. Well, right now I live in Michigan, but shortly after Katrina, there were some horses that were brought up north to the, oh, we'll say the suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio. And I happened to just volunteer to do some energy work on them. And one horse in particular, I mean, he was very traumatized. Um, Everything spooked him. But it was so strange on, I think back on his left hip, people were coming in just to see. It was almost like the swirls of how big Katrina was kind of made an imprint in the hair on the back of his hip. It was a very strange thing. That I'm not sure what happened to him. Hopefully someone, adopted him and that he's doing better. But I could actually see in touching him images of, the water just coming in and, being in a barn and the water rising. And it was very sad, very scary.
Have you found that animals need companions? For instance, I want to adopt a pair of pugs because I've read that pugs are pack animals and it would be very important for them to be two. But then some of the cats I met seem to be like, oh, hell no, all for me. Have you noticed anything like that, or do you think even a cat could benefit from another cat? What are your thoughts on that?
Cats, they are just so independent. You can leave a cat as long food, water, and a litter box. You can, be gone for quite a while. Where dogs are much more dependent on humans. Dogs, I think, yes, being pack animals, like other dogs, but I had a dog who, she was me, me, me. Everything was about her. I'm not sure that she would have liked to share the attention with the family or not. It depends on, even though she, a lab is supposed to, not supposed to, they're one of the friendliest breeds, I think. That's my favorite. I'm just preferential there. But some dogs, yes, I'd say they'd be more open, would like that more than probably cats would. But, I know lots of people that have many cats and they all get along, do their own thing. And yes, dogs and cats can get along if given the opportunity.
Do you have any advice? Because a lot of times I've heard when parents, especially new parents, are having a baby, if they have a pet, that a lot of times the pet begins to act up with the baby coming and once it's arrived. So do you have any advice for parents on how they can help their pet through that transition?
Talking to them beforehand, I think, preparing them. I said, I repeat that on some level they have an understanding of words that humans use. Let's see, I would be cautious with all animals, no matter, the friendly breeds of dogs known for being super friendly. I mean, a dog is an animal, a cat is an animal, and you never know how they will be. A dog has teeth and can use their teeth at any time, and, I see videos of people letting their dogs be around the baby very close, and it's like, caution here. Because any dog can bite at any time. It's just, I wouldn't feel comfortable leaving a newborn or, even a toddler alone with a dog.
What kind of behavioral problems do people tend to come to you about their dog? Like if there's an anger issue, obviously not using the litter box. Can you maybe offer some other reasons why people tend to see you about their pets?
Anger issues, fear, separation anxiety, where, if they leave them even a short time, they're having accidents or destructive, tearing up things. Let me think what else. Sadness, change in behavior, where they're not eating as well as they had been, or activity level is down.
Can an animal let you know if it's sick and needs veterinary care? Veterinary care, okay.
Yes, it does.
We have a comment and a question here. Melissa says, I've heard giving animals a hat or something that has a baby scent is a great way to introduce you to the newborn before it comes home. I've experienced the benefits of that before. Have you heard of that?
That's a good idea. Really is. Very good.
We've got another question here from Ryan Tab. Can you help an animal that is sick to avoid them being put down?
Oh, it depends on what they have. I mean, I'll give an example. Sorry, my skin's itching. One horse was having problems, and well, I had a couple horses, but I could sense that one had an ulcer. I mean, that's what I felt. It felt like I had an ulcer. And it was scoped, and the ulcer was discovered, so put on medication. Another one I sensed had cancer starting in the stomach, and nothing was done, no follow-up on that, and within 2 months the horse passed, and I guess the owner wanted an autopsy done, and it did show it died of stomach cancer.
Will an animal give away their owner's secrets?
I think what they share is just they're aware of things going on with the owner, and if they're going to share secrets, it's going to be something that will benefit the owner in facing those problems, that will then help the whole home environment if they're addressed.
Okay, fair enough. We've got a question here from Rebecca, and I want to remind everyone I'm happy to ask your question on chat, or you can call in at 919-518-9773 or Skype Computers 2K Voice. Rebecca asks, do dogs heal you when they lick? Can dogs heal us?
I think that they do. I know dogs, I've had them, and other people, where if you have a cut, some kind of wound, they're trying to lick it. And I know it sounds gross because it's like, well, sometimes they'll eat other animals' poo, or they're licking themselves. But actually, it's almost like a soothing salve to have a dog with its soft, warm tongue to lick a wound. And it really, I find that it helped cuts and things that I have to heal faster. As far as healing people, absolutely. If we could all be tolerant and loving as animals are, the world would be a much more peaceful place.
How can people better communicate with their pets? Just plain and simple advice and a first place for people to start.
Tell them what's going on in your life. If you're having a bad day, if you're sad, why are you sad? I'm sad because I miss my sister, just an example. I'm sad because, if there's a death to someone close to you, share all that, because they'll notice a difference in your behavior, your energy that emits from your body. They pick up on all that. So it's just an acknowledging that they notice that there's a change. And by talking to them, it's reassuring, saying, I'm feeling this way, but, it's going to be okay. And I just wanted to share this with you because I care about you and don't want you to worry about me.
Now, Melissa asked, we talked about this briefly earlier, what kind of behavior should an owner be aware of from their animal before a natural disaster is going to happen?
I'm sorry, what should an owner be aware of?
Is there a certain behavior that pets are going to do before a natural disaster that an owner can have their eyes and ears open for?
With that, dogs, just say like a regular summer thunderstorm. Dogs will pace for maybe, up to an hour or so before they feel the changes, the pressure changes, atmospheric changes, Um, some can sense, even like when there's earthquakes that have happened. Um, what else? I guess pacing, becoming anxious. Some people get upset. Oh, so and so. Example, Toby's so afraid of storms. Well, yes, I mean, it's loud, it's scary. They're not able to comprehend like people are, or even to look outside and go, oh, there's black clouds and thunder and lightning happening. It's like they could be in the home and all of a sudden, boom, which their ears are much more sensitive than people's are. Um, so paying attention, pacing, sometimes when animals do, people will be like, oh, go lay down and settle down. And many times they're trying to forewarn people that some change is coming.
How do you use energy healing to help pets?
Um, Energy healing is very calming, relaxing. If you can decrease stress in any way, and that's a wonderful form to do it, prevents complications from being too stressed. I believe that stress is the reason for all conditions, illnesses, disease processes. It all starts with stress.
Okay, now we have a question here from Warrior Spirit. This is a great one. Is doggy daycare always a good idea? My friend's dog is loving it and it used to tear up the house. So what are your thoughts on doggy daycare?
I think it would depend on the animal. I mean, some dogs, their temperaments aren't good for being around other animals, but those that are social, have been socialized, is probably a good thing because they're doing something all day while you're working, getting exercise, socializing, and it's a lot better than being in a home by themselves where the majority of them will be sleeping most of the day anyways, but they're occupied, so I think that could be a good thing. Just make sure they all get their shots. Don't want to catch any. Well, I'm sure that's a requirement for the daycare anyways, but being around other animals, there are some, like my dog wasn't around many animals. She was more of a country dog. So socially, she was lacking in some of the manners.
So do you do anything besides any other healing modalities with pets besides energy healing and Reiki?
That's it. People have asked if I do massage. It's like, no. I mean, I do that on humans, but there are courses offered, but it's my preference not to do that. I feel most comfortable in the capacity that I'm servicing the animals.
Okay, we've got another question here from Rebecca. Me and my sister, as silly as it sounds, treat our other 1-year-old border collies as babies. We pick them up and cradle them sometimes. We cuddle with them a lot, and they sleep on our beds with us. Is this bad for the dogs?
I won't say it's bad. I think sometimes people forget that they're not human babies, that they're animals. As long as they're getting their animal needs met, as far as outdoor time, time to sniff, time to just be in the grass, to lay on the ground, and that's where they become grounded. And sniffing, it's like a huge adventure when they go for a walk because of all the odors, and that's how they tell their world, is through their nose. Yeah, seeing some, but the nose is so keen. They love to snuggle. I mean, if you take a mama that has a litter of puppies, they're sleeping on top of each other and playing together. So yeah, that's okay, but as long as we'll say the dog is going to listen and be not the dominant dog, because to be in the master's bed, it's like they think they're, the top dog to be able to do that. So if there's problems with not listening of dominant behaviors, it's best to get them off the bed and where they're at a level below you, because the top dog is always above.
Oh, that's good to know. Have you noticed a difference, because you do work with people who can't communicate, you've worked with people in a coma. Is there really a difference when doing energy healing and Reiki between humans and animals?
Yes, and the biggest difference is that animals want to be well. Animals want to be healthy and to feel good. Where some people, not saying all, but a good majority don't. And an example for that is maybe sometimes people don't get attention unless they're ill, unless they're confined to the bed, unless they're in the hospital, unless they're having another surgery, and it's like being the center of attention. And some people, healing can be painful. The energy work that I do and others out there, it brings up our old wounds. It opens them up until we somehow find a way through physically getting help and emotionally dealing with it and trying to view everything that we've gone through that's made us who we are. We're better because of it, even if it's been hard. And some people, it's too painful to look at that, so they suppress. So some people will actually reject if I try to do energy work on them because it's too uncomfortable. And yet, I've never had a horse, dog, or cat. When I say cats will come around, but I've never had any that have got up and walked away. And it's like, no, they might get up, stretch, go get a drink of water, but 9 times out of 10, they'll be back. And even position, horses and dogs are really good at this, as to what part they want me to touch that feels good to them.
That's really interesting. Now, Princess says, my neighbor adopted a stray cat and feeds it outside and can't bring it inside because of the landlord. What advice do you have to keep the cat alive?
Well, food and water would be, we all need to survive. We may not have an abundance of riches and money, but the basic needs, food, water, shelter, to be warm. So whether you could get some kind of bed, blankets, a little box with even old rags in it, especially in the winter months, where it could have a place to be safe, sheltered somehow from the elements. But thank you for doing that. I mean, that's making a difference. I get it. I love animals, so I thank you. Princess, is it? Thank you.
Yes. And that's I agree. That's wonderful, Princess. We've got a question here from Ryan Tab. Why are some animals smarter than others? Do they have more brain usage, or are they just trained better? And I have to say, my brother and sister-in-law, JJ, is probably the dumbest dog I've ever met, but I have to tell you, he is the sweetest thing ever, and they have a 7, 6, and 3-year-old, and JJ is wonderful with the kids. I mean, he is just incredible.
Yeah, sometimes I think the less intelligent they are, the more they love. I mean, they might not know how to go fetch a newspaper or, do certain tricks, but, dogs they're love. And I always like to say, God spelled backwards is dog. To me, it's an honor to see all animals except for snakes, but I'll work on that. To have a dog, and it's just such a blessing. It's like the presence of God, on these 4 legs and this fur, and that like to give kisses, and they're just they're just awesome.
We've got a really wonderful comment here from Rebecca I'd like to share with you. I have to go, but just want to say thank you for sharing. You're beautiful and need not to be nervous. Everyone loves you. Kisses.
I could tell. You could tell I'm nervous.
You've been great. You've been great. I think it's been fantastic. We've learned a lot, but I do have a couple questions for you that's part of my routine. I like to ask every guest. You know, a lot of people out there might be struggling. They might have lost a job, be going through divorce, or they have a really pet that's in a really bad space right now. What advice would you have for them?
I say to you, and I truly mean this, I could do a whole show on my life experiences, which have been hard. Never give up hope. Never give up hope. And to go along with that, when all odds seem to be against you, there's always a glimmer of hope. And I ask everyone out there that's listening to please, whatever you're passionate about, mine is the animals. I love animals. I love to speak for them. I love to help them. Don't give up on your passion. I think that we've been blessed with certain gifts and abilities, and what we're passionate about, I believe, is why we are here, part of why we're here. And the other thing I say to people, take time, if you can, each day. I do this, even if it's just for a minute, and to get out of your head, to put the stress out of your mind just for even 30 seconds, is to sit quietly and picture, whether it's an animal that you love, a human that you love. I can picture the dog that I had that passed, and I picture my two sons that I love with all my heart, and just picturing them, and I could feel my heart open as I think about them. And that love comes out and spreads out into the world. And if more people could do that, there could be more peace. And that's my goal, to be a peacemaker and to send out love and be love.
Well, you're certainly doing that tonight. Now, we've got one final question from a viewer and then one final question from me. Brian asked, do changes in our pets' behavior necessarily mean something is wrong, or do animals have mood changes just like humans?
Oh, I believe they have mood changes that are brought on by humans.
Good answer. Okay, your final question for tonight. After this show, tomorrow morning, tonight before bed, what one step can people do to reawaken their brilliance? Because I'm all about getting off the couch.
Do something, make a list, a short list. All right, how about this? Write down 2 things, 2 steps you can take to make your passion, that thing that's always in the back of your mind, to bring that to fruition. What little step can you take today to make that happen in the upcoming days?
All right, outstanding. Now, Barb, if people want to learn more about you, they want you to do an animal reading, please tell us where they can go.
They could go to my website, which is, it's all one word, thehealingjourneync.wordpress.com.
Okay, fantastic. And do you have any up any coming classes or anything that's going on, or they can just go, I've written the website down here, can they just go there and find out more information?
They could go there. I invite anyone, if they want to connect with me on Facebook, it's Barb Borkowski. I think I might be the only one, I'm not sure. Or they could look at your page, and somehow, I like to meet people, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. This has been really informative. Again, if you have a pet and you're having issues, we did it with Joey. I just encourage you. It's amazing, and it's not going to only help you, but it will help your pet as well.
Thank you so much, Julie. I appreciate your contacting me.
And another synchronicity event. I saw her on LinkedIn. We connected and found out that she used to live in North Carolina, right down the road.
And I grew up in the Ohio Valley like you did.
Ohio Valley, so we found out we had a lot in common. So notice those synchronistic events, people. They're out there for a reason. And I want to thank everyone for listening tonight, reminding our Triangle viewers, Finding and attracting love. It worked for me. I listened to the panel last year. If you're in the Raleigh area, go to reawakenyourbrilliance.com under the Thrive series. We want to thank Delta Force Technologies for sponsoring it. Got a really awesome panel of 4. Tickets have already started to sell. This was my biggest event last year, and that's probably going to sell out this year. So if you're looking for love or you've been looking in all the wrong places, go to reawakenyourbrilliance.com to find out more information. Bye, everyone. We'll see you later.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Sundays 9 a.m. till noon. Carrie's Psychic Cafe with Carrie Silkowski, Sundays 8 till 9 p.m. Health In with Debbie Bruck, Mondays 11 a.m. till noon. Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Mondays 8 till 9 p.m. Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert, Wednesdays, 9 till 10 p.m. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by ThatVidBlasterGuy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.